Hello and welcome. I'm Eric Gao, and here's what happened this week. A corruption scandal surrounding former Taipei Mayor Wen-je erupted this week, with his home and the office of his party, the TPP, searched on Friday. Ke was also taken in for questioning by the government's anti-corruption office. Louise Watt was live for us.
How times change. In the space of a year, Ke has gone from being a presidential candidate to a suspect in a corruption investigation. He's being investigated on suspicion of profiteering. Now, this morning, prosecutors turned up at his home around 7 and they searched inside. At the same time, they also searched the party headquarters of the party he created. A few hours later, he came out of his home and this is what he said.
今天是台湾历史上第一次，主要在野党的党主席的住家、办公室，还有中央党部也都被搜索。当然，我非常坦荡，我知道我没有问题。我也希望执政当局要清楚的说明，他今天是有什么证据，要做这个动作。
He's now being interviewed here at the Agency Against Corruption. This investigation goes back to May and it involves a series of real estate deals that happened during his time as Taipei city mayor. Now, other people have been questioned, some have been detained. At issue is, did any money go into the pockets of Taipei city officials? Now, the case that Ke is being questioned about today involves a shopping mall. Its land area ratio extended quite significantly, and the allegations are that Ke approved this to benefit the developer rather than for any public benefit. Ke is also embroiled in allegations that he misused campaign funds. Only yesterday, he said he was stepping down from head of his party, the Taiwan People's Party, for a leave of absence for 3 months. Now, the party's response, they say that they don't know the reason why Ke's home has been searched or indeed their party headquarters, but they say the party's fully cooperating with the investigation and they fully support Ke in defending his innocence.
That was Louise Watt reporting live for us in Taipei. Ke's former deputy mayor, Wen-tsan, was also questioned, and his wife, Chen was summoned as a witness. Now, Ke is not the only one facing corruption allegations. Wen-tsan, the former vice premier and a heavyweight politician from the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, he has been officially indicted on charges of graft. It's the latest development in a scandal that has sent shockwaves through Taiwanese politics. Irene Lid reports.
After 47 days in police custody, Wen-tsan of the ruling Democratic Progressive Party is now officially indicted on charges of bribery and corruption relating to his time as mayor of Taoyuan, one of Taiwan's major metropolitan areas. Prosecutors say they've gathered enough evidence to secure charges against Cheng and 11 people involved, publishing 38 pages worth of evidence today.
郑姓被告的台北市的某居所扣得不明的大额的资金，那 总共资金的额度达到678万5千元。我们认为他矢口否认相关的一个犯行哦，我们向法院请求从重量刑，希望能够量处有期徒刑12年哦。
In early July, Cheng was accused of taking bribes worth over $150,000 in a farmland rezoning scandal 7 years ago. Prosecutors took him in for questioning, but he was initially granted bail by the district court. Cheng paid a bail sum of more than $370,000 in the first 2 bail hearings, but prosecutors appealed multiple times, with a third judge ultimately ordering Cheng to be detained while prosecutors finished their investigation. The DPP politician was once seen as a potential successor to former President Tsai Ing-wen, serving as her vice premier. He then looked set to help guide relations with China under current President Lai Ching-te before the scandal broke. With 96% of prosecutions leading to conviction in Taiwan, Cheng now has just a few months to prepare a defense and save his political career. Zhang Su and Irene Lin in Taoyuan for TaiwanPlus.
Now, there's also a high-profile lawmaker who's facing questioning over corruption as well. John Ben Trieste has more on this.
Agents raid the office of Kuomintang legislator Sra Cao before questioning him for hours afterwards. Prosecutors allege he accepted bribes from at least 5 green energy companies between 2020 and 2023. Now out on bail and barred from leaving the country, he faces increasing scrutiny as lawmakers from across the spectrum demand the case be handled swiftly and fairly.
该搜索就搜索，该办就办。那么，但是呢，绝对不要罗织罪名，然后政治办案就好。
希望勿枉勿纵，检方或者是司法调查能够尽快的还原真相。
But this is far from the only corruption scandal brewing, with politicians of all party affiliations in the crosshairs. It's not yet a week since ruling Democratic Progressive Party lawmaker Lin Yijin was bailed amid charges of embezzlement, and the former vice premier is facing bribery and corruption charges too. Meanwhile, Wen-je, the chair and founder of the Taiwan People's Party, is also fighting back against criticism for using election subsidies to buy personal property. Even an official involved in an independent campaign is in trouble. Pingdong County Council Speaker Zhou Dianlun has just been sentenced to 4 years. Though a Kuomintang member, Zhou worked to help get independent candidate and electronics tycoon Terry Guo on the ballot in last year's presidential election. Prosecutors say he paid voters to sign the petition to make that happen. Zhou says he'll appeal, and his daughter says he's innocent, but prosecutors are standing firm.
可以认定，并非单纯用于支付联署的人事还有行政费用，而是可用来交付选民以换取联署书的贿赂。
President Lai Ching-te made stamping out corruption one of his campaign pledges. And while the ongoing investigations show that prosecutors aren't shy about going after graft and bribery, the number of cases shows the scale of the problem across Taiwan's political spectrum. Klein Wang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
A fresh Chinese spy case has reached the courts just days after members of another spy ring were sentenced to jail. And at least one official says it's time for action against China's frequent plots to steal Taiwan's military secrets. John has this report as well.
Prosecutors say this is the would-be ringleader of a new Chinese spy ring, caught before his plan got off the ground. He's a former officer in Taiwan's military who's made a career in China. He's spoken to Chinese media in the past, saying Taiwan shouldn't unfairly block cross-strait exchanges. But prosecutors say that more recently, it's exchanges of Taiwan's military secrets he had in mind. They allege that he planned to infiltrate the ranks with help from 2 accomplices. Both are members of the fringe Chinese Unification Promotion Party, who prosecutors say accepted wining and dining at China's expense in return for their services. It's something the party's leader denies.
本身的军官退伍，然后到大陆投资，他们在种那个台湾的藜麦。那种藜麦的过程中，大陆有单位接待的，很正常的。其他的我想都是他们在乱讲。
What is certain is that this isn't an isolated case. In recent years, Taiwan has unearthed a long string of Chinese espionage cases. Many involve active or former military members, including a case that just ended last week with sentences of up to 13 years. Defense analysts say this model, recruiting Taiwanese people to do China spying, is cost-effective for Beijing.
透过台商或是说部分的一些比较旅游从业人员去从事这种所谓的比较间谍组织的吸收跟发展其实是很快速的。他不是编制内人员嘛，所以其实他不用领薪水，而其实相对来说其实他的建制成本比较便宜。
But the regular pace at which China is putting these rings together has at least one official alarmed and calling for action. Lai Zhenjiang, a member of the government's watchdog and auditing body, says that since 2011, the number of Chinese spies Taiwan's uncovered has grown 12-fold. And Lai says that all the while, the budget for protecting against them has been cut.
我国在反情报这方面的机制上有一些问题，人员也相对来讲，我们的边线比也不足，或者是我们的经费其实也不然。
China has shown a determination to keep recruiting and sending spies, no matter how many are caught. To counter them and protect its national security, Taiwan will have to start from within its own ranks. Justin Wu and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's opposition-controlled legislature is due to meet again next week after the summer break. Controversial reforms saw the last session end in brawls and mass protests. Now, activists say they are alarmed over more opposition proposals. Tiffany Wong reports.
拒绝民主倒退，拒绝民主倒退，公民持续守卫，公民持续守卫，中国国民党不要乱，中国国民党不要乱。
Leaders of the Bluebird civil movement, which saw tens of thousands of protesters take to the streets earlier this year, are now sounding the alarm over 4 bills proposed by the opposition Kuomintang ahead of next week's new legislative session. They're concerned about a proposal to allow lawmakers to play a greater role in national security decision-making by getting an early preview of defense spending proposals. The KMT legislator who proposed the bill said it's meant to streamline national security coordination between branches of the government and is in keeping with how the U.S. handles its defense budget. Activists say they're also worried about a proposal to shorten the number of years it takes for Chinese spouses to receive identity cards from 6 to 4 years, citing what they say are conflicting loyalties. The KMT says the change is to provide Chinese spouses equal rights with other nationalities. The key concern among activists is that these new reforms could harm Taiwan's democratic processes and leave the country susceptible to Chinese influence.
这4个法案都是在威胁我国的民主的危机，那我们必须要有所行动。那如果说中国国民党在下一个会期执意要通过这些法案的话，我们相信台湾公民一定会有所行动。
The Bluebird movement started earlier this year as a protest movement against proposed reforms by the opposition-controlled legislature, which would have given lawmakers greater oversight of the executive branch and President Cheng. That bill passed in May, but is now suspended as it undergoes constitutional review. Although the movement has been less active in recent months, these civil society groups are here to show lawmakers that they will be paying close attention to the next legislative session and are ready to protest if needed. Howard Zhang and Tiffany Wong in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Cabinet spokesperson Chen Sikai has been named Taiwan's next transportation minister. Premier Luo Rong-tai expressed confidence in Sun, despite him having no prior experience in a ministerial portfolio. Sun previously served as President Cheng's spokesperson during his presidential campaign. He takes on the role after the post was vacated by Li Mengyan following a scandal over an extramarital affair. There are now over 350,000 people living with dementia in Taiwan. And as the country moves towards becoming a super-aged society, that number is expected to increase. Wesley Lewis looks at how the government is getting creative in caring for these people.
As Taiwan moves towards becoming a super-aged society, its population of people with dementia is expected to increase. According to the country's health ministry, Taiwan is already home to around 350,000 people with dementia. They estimate that by 2031, that number will surpass 470,000 people. Then, by 2041, it will pass 680,000. That averages out to 2 new cases per hour every day between now and then. It's a problem that particularly affects women.
失智症的早期的症状包括他的情绪跟行为的障碍高达66%，他的忧郁、他的作息混乱、他的这个焦虑跟恐惧是他的前3位。
To tackle the issue, the health ministry has created thousands of care centers and trained over 500,000 volunteers to help look after the country's growing number of dementia patients. It also introduced community puppetry programs to help slow cognitive decline. 78-year-old Cho Xingrong joined one such troupe 6 months ago. He has mild dementia, and puppetry seems to help with his symptoms. It's become something he looks forward to every day.
时间上咯，好过日咯，好过日哦，也可以动动手，对不对？
While puppetry has helped Cho, he's just one success story in what is proving to be a growing challenge for Taiwan. As the country creeps towards becoming a super-aged society, one where over 20% of the population is aged 65 or older, they'll have to continue to get creative about tackling dementia, either by providing better care, better awareness, or better puppets. Patrick Chen and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
Thanks for joining us today for Here's What Happened. Download our app to get more of our reports every day sent straight to your device. Finally, check out the opening of the Paralympic Games in Paris. I'm Eric Gao. Take care, and we'll see you next week.
For more stories from here in Honolulu, Hawaii, and around the world, make sure to visit us on social media.